Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right. So, Ticket TV just reported that Lonzo Ball is going to be out for the season. And that prompted me to want to say something because I've been following Lonzo's career, of course, since he was drafted to the Lakers. And, of course, since he's from the California area, I've been following, the Ball kids long before they got to the NBA, just like a lot of us have. And I remember hearing about them when they were like 12 and 13 years old, right? Younger for LaMelo. Melo was like probably 7 or 8 years old when I first saw him. He wasn't even playing ball yet. So for me, it's like I'm not gonna say I'm invested in their success because obviously I'm just a fan. I don't know nobody, but what I can say is I'm rooting for them to succeed. And now that they're pros, I know what they can do. And they're having injury issues. Obviously, they haven't had a chance to get Jello on the floor to play NBA basketball. Who knows if that's going to manifest for him? But I know he can score like crazy. So if a team gives him an opportunity, they're going to find that out. He has very, very good intangibles, and he deserves to be on the basketball floor in the NBA, in my opinion. He's already proven that to me. But I guess there's more to see for others, so we'll wait it out. But I don't think that any of those three players, obviously Melo's in a different atmosphere, but I don't think any of those three players need to be giving up on their careers just yet, at all. Because for conditioning reasons, I think it's all about. That's what it's all about for them. They need to have their conditioning on point. Now, Lonzo is having some serious knee injuries. So, in my opinion, sitting him for the rest of the season is the only play. I mean, there's no other way to go. He can barely walk around, from what I understand. The thing about it is, though, the issues that I've been reading about with Chicago and New Orleans and stuff like that is that he's kind of been coming back from injuries too soon. And he always comes back from injuries too soon. He did it with us, too. And so, it's one of those situations where he's been paid now. They gave him the big contract. And so it makes a lot of sense for them to think long term with his, his career and his contract. I think it's one of those situations where it's like, you ask yourself, if rushing him back into this situation, coupled with the logjam that they have with their roster in Chicago, if that's going to make it so that he just continues to get hurt, why not just shut him completely down? And so that's what they're doing, for one. But I think they should shut him down for next year, too. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Lonzo should play for another 2 seasons. And the reason why I say that is because the knee injury that he has is so horrible at this point, from what he was describing in a live that he was talking about 2 or 3 months ago. As bad as it is, it's not as simple as him just healing from it and then coming back out on the court directly after healing. Now, he's going to have to put on strength. He's going to have to build his body up so that he can take on the roles that he's looking to take on as a leading star point guard in this league. And what I understand is he's still young enough to where if he just sets aside 2 years to reinvent his entire body, he can go off and have 5, 6, 7 good years in the NBA after that. Now, nobody really looks at things that way, but I look at guys like Jonathan Isaac the same way, Markelle Fultz the same way. There's a lot of players like that who have real bad injury issues right now, but if they just step away from basketball for a second and dedicate their situation to conditioning, they're going to come back like Dennis Smith Jr., and they're going to be in a position to do more on the basketball floor than they ever would have been able to do before. Dennis Smith Jr. went and got healed up from all his injury issues and then proceeded to take on football conditioning. That's what he's been doing for the last couple of years, preparing to get in the NFL, because he just didn't want to end his sporting professional career. He figured if it ain't going to work in basketball, he can go to the NFL. But what that did was make him stronger and way more conditioned for what it is that he's actually going to be doing, which is being in the NBA. And so what I did is gave him the strength to take on more roles. And, of course, he's still dealing with his health right now, but I think he's one of those situations where he's back on the court, and you can see the conditioning has improved his overall play and his ability to see his trajectory going forward in the league. And he's still young. DSJ is probably like 24 right now. So while a lot of people had written him off, if you look at where he's at in his life and you look at where he's at with his conditioning going forward, you can see the build from here. I look at another guy like Justice Winslow. Justice Winslow, I said it last night, he looked as good as he's ever looked in the NBA last night. And a lot of people have written him off as an injury-prone player. He's done. You can't, he's on a roll, and he's playing a role on a team, and that's it. But what I'm telling you is, that's a guy I would put on my team right now and expect him to do more than he's ever done before going forward, because of the conditioning he's in and where he's at with his gameplay. I think Justice Winslow is going to be a pretty good player over the next 5 years if he doesn't have any more setbacks with his health. The Justice Winslow we know right now, I think there's going to be levels where you're going to be like, oh, okay, you know him a little better as a, maybe even develop to be like a PJ Tucker type of, go-to kind of player. I see where some of those guys are going to get it together because they're going to start, they've been working on their conditioning. So that's what it's about for a guy like Lonzo. And I think of a guy like Jonathan Isaac, if I haven't mentioned him already. He ain't got to rush back. Heal fully, then build strength. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. As I told you guys in a video I just made, a therapy session video I just made, I did my my physical high in squats yesterday. And then I came back this morning and just did another routine of squats where I did my high on top of that. And I'm 38 years of age, man. And so I'm telling you, like, for guys who are 23, 24, and they're athletes, I was a fat kid when I was their age. You understand what I'm saying? Like, for me to be in this position at this stage, they've been taking way better care of themselves than I have for longer. They should be able to build the habits that allow them to have the conditioning that allow them to be the professionals they want to be. But if you're a guy like Lonzo Ball, you cannot come back and then be conditioned just good enough to be a role player and expect yourself to be a starting point guard. That's the thing. It's like, that's what guys end up doing. They come back when they're in role player shape. And then guys want them to be their all-star selves. That's a mistake. You got to come back your all-star self. And that means taking time away from being healthy to condition yourself to being strong from a healthy space. That's what guys end up doing. They want to come back on the court when they're healthy. Nah, that's when you start building. You 100%? Good. Get your butt in the gym and go to work for 6 months. 6 months where you go hard as hell. You get back on the basketball court, you'll be your best self, and you'll be able to do it for 82 games plus playoffs. And that's what it's about. Not coming back too soon, and certainly not capping about how you're feeling. Guys always set themselves back because they lie about how they're feeling. Guy like Anthony Davis last year, he didn't tell us about the finger injury, so he was shooting 12%. Bro, if you would have waited the little 4 months or whatever, 4 weeks, whatever it would have been to heal the injury, the longer term aspect of the situation would have made way more sense to what it is you want to be and how you want to do it. So guys just need to be structured in what it is they're trying to do for their conditioning, and don't allow the circumstances to rush you back. Because if you rush back and then you have another knee injury, it ain't going to be no getting in shape for the condition. You'll just be done. You'll just be done. And that's the point. You can't let these injuries keep compiling. Because then it takes longer to come back, which is why I'm saying 2 years for Lonzo, because he's done this 3 times. See what I'm saying? So it's like, nah, 1 year ain't going to be enough for him to just come back and get right. No. And he's not that old. It's like a guy like John Wall was much older when he started going through this. So by the time he comes back, he's a lesser version of himself. He's a role player. Lonzo ain't got to go through that. Lonzo's going to come back probably 26 at the old, 27 at the oldest. If he does this little plan that I'm talking about, he got all-star years ahead. 29, 30, 31, 32. Those are all-star years for a guy like him. He ain't going to be falling off. Not if he stays healthy. And with the conditioning that he put on, he should be able to. You know who comes to mind? Steph Curry. Best example of all time, in my opinion. Why? Because he was the most injury-prone player in the league for like the first 5 years of his career. Ankles. I called him ankles. Because every 3 weeks he would roll an ankle. Kid you not. He had the worst ankles in the league for a long time. Before you knew him as the great Steph Curry, he was just a dude that could not stay on the floor because every time you see him, he roll his ankles like Reggie Miller. It took a long time for him to work that out. It took a long time for him to overcome that. But what did it for him was building real strength, getting into the gym and healing from those injuries, and then compounding that with workout habits that turned him into a workout monster. Now he can drop 60, 70 points, whatever you need him to drop, at 32, whatever years of age he is. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about conditioning for guys, man. You don't have to stay injury prone. You just got to stop re-injuring yourself by trying to go back on the floor and hurting yourself too fast, or getting back on the floor too fast and then from there hurting yourself. So that's what I want to say, man. That's what I think not only Lonzo should do, but just about all these guys who have these real serious, hellified injuries. Like Ben Simmons, same plan. You should be on the same regimen. Stop trying to force yourself to come back to be the same player, because the player you were was a workout warrior. When you was doing all that crazy stuff, you were in the best shape of anybody. And so if you're not going to be in that shape and you're asking yourself to do those things, what are you asking for really? Setbacks. And what have we seen? Setbacks. Ben Simmons hurt right now. Yes, we started seeing him play well, and he started getting in game shape, but what ends up happening? The base from which he was working out from, he wasn't strong enough. He was just getting in game shape. He should have been using this type of conditioning to get in muscle shape. That's what he should have been doing, instead of trying to run around and help the Nets. Hell no. That's energy you needed to be using in the gym to build strength. That's it. And if he would have came back next season, after doing that for a whole year, you'd see the Ben Simmons that you would have saw in Philly the first couple of years when he was coming super, super strong, all hefty, and looking like he was steroid out. That's what he would look like, because he would have taken those habits that he's established back then and built that strength back again. That's what he needs to do. That's what he should. That's the only plan, especially when you've had back surgery. Same thing with Michael Porter Jr. They keep having these damn setbacks. It's because you're not allowing that kid to ever get in real shape. You bring him back as soon as he's healthy. Hell no. After he gets healthy, he needs to take a year and strengthen that broken back of his. Doing all kinds of squats and stretches and all types of balance methods to get him to be in the shape that y'all want him to be, so he can be that all-star that you're paying him to be. But you keep rushing him back, and it's setting him back, and you're never going to get the most out of him. I mean, it's just like, I've watched the Nuggets particularly make some really bad decisions in that regard. They're doing it with this player and Michael, and they, of course, did it with Bol, letting him walk. I think they're also doing it with Jamal Murray in a way. You just got to let these guys build strength after they get healthy. That's all. Instead of letting them get back on the court as soon as the knee is healed. Hell no. That's when you start building strength. So that's what I got to say, man. Take a couple years off, Lonzo. Don't look at it as something that's keeping you away from your game. It's something that's going to give you the rest of your career. It's literally going to give you your entire career. Because if you don't take that time off and build that, we're going to stay on this path and it's going to end early. And it don't have to. It just simply doesn't have to. So that's what I got to say, man. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching.